Bryson, you have taken this wine topper here and you've taken it over to the disc sander already. Clean this up. Looks pretty good. Nice and filed here. I don't feel any relief cut lines or any bumps or anything like that. It's pretty smooth the whole way through. So obviously we do know that we do need to do a little bit more finish sanding on this, which is fine. But there's one other detail that we're going to do to this. And what that's going to be is we're going to route over all of our edges, all right, inside the holes, around the outside and these parts here. And we're just going to use a really small route, a little 1/8 inch round over. And it's important that we are nice and smooth the whole way through with no bumps or dips or valleys or relief cut lines, anything like that, because the router is going to follow these edges, and anything that the edge has, it will put into the route. So if we take a look at our router bit over here, do you see this little ball bearing right here? So the ball bearing is what rides along the edge of our plywood, or along the edge of our wood right here. So anything that this ball bearing goes over, it will transfer into the route. So if there was a little, let's say a little relief cut line or a little file mark, it would also route that right into our project. We wouldn't want that. That's why we go over it first and feel it. Now, when we route, this router bit right here happens to go in a clockwise rotation, all right? And that's important to remember, because since this goes in a clockwise rotation, when we route our outside edges, which is usually what we do, we always do an outside edge, all right? You have to go counterclockwise. Now, the only time that you go the other way, clockwise, is when we do these inside holes right here, okay? So the reason why that's important to remember is because with this little bit, it's not a big deal, but if we had a really big bit in there, what could happen is if we go the way that the router's turning, all right, if we start going clockwise and the router bit's going clockwise, it'll run on us. So rather than it being and fighting against it, it's gonna be like, and it's gonna run with us, and that could be dangerous, all right, and it could mess up the wood, all right? The wood's the least of our concerns. Us getting injured or somebody else getting injured could be, you know, a very worst case scenario. So anyways, I don't have the router plugged in right now. That's why I was touching it and all that. I have it set up so that we're going to use the full 1/8 of an inch round over, which is just a really little bit. It's not much at all. This particular router is what they call a little trim router, and we really only use this router right here for this 1/8 inch bit. I wouldn't put a bigger bit in there. It's really made for trimming small things like formica or countertop type material. All we use it for is this. We just leave an 1/8 inch bit in it and we're in good shape. So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to come on over here. We're going to wind up plugging this thing in. We're going to show you a few things about it. I do have a couple of speeds up here on the top. We'll probably start all the way down here. I'll show you that. Did you plug it in for me over there, Bryson? All right, so now that it's plugged in, what we'll wind up doing is we'll turn the power on and we'll listen to it. I'm just going to put it down in this hole. It's in the middle of no man's land right here. It's not touching anything. We'll just turn it on. Listen. That's speed number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 6. I think we're probably going to run about speed number 5. Let's see what this router here calls for. Oh wow, this one goes 35,000 RPMs. That's a lot. That's a lot. So we need to really be careful when we use this machine here. Obviously, always keep our hands on the cutting path. We don't ever set it down on a table like this. We always have to come to a complete stop. All right, and we lay it down on its side over here. All right, so now that we're ready to do this right here, I'm gonna try to get this out of the way. Now that we're ready to do this, the trickiest part about this right here is going to be when you guys go ahead and you try to use it. What you're going to find is on the outside edge, you're going to see your hands are going to kind of be going like this, all right? You'll either be going down like this, or you'll be trying to hold like this, and this will be up. When I hold this, you'll see me. You see how my hand fits right here? All right, it's a nice rubberized grip, and it actually holds really easy. When I do this, all right, you're gonna try your best to just let it float kind of around. Don't go extra hard. Don't try to hold it down really good on the boat. Just try to let it just float along. And it's okay. You'll see me periodically. I'll move stuff. All right, and I'll take the router off to the side, and then I'll try some other spots like this. It's going to make a little bit more sense when I go ahead and do this. So I'll show you guys how to do one, and then I'll have you do the other side. So remember, we're going to do our hole here first. Should I go clockwise or counterclockwise for the hole?
Counterclockwise.
We do go clockwise for the hole. We go counterclockwise for everything else. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. I'll turn it off. Take a look-see gander. Boy, that looks really pretty. I really like that. That looks really sharp. And double check it right here. Yeah. Now that we're going to do our outside, now we're going to go counterclockwise. So remember, I never take this and start it in the wood. I always start it to the outside of the wood. I'm just going to check something here real quick, guys. That's my pipe. All right, so I'm going to start it right over here to the outside. I'm just going to go along this edge, and then I'll probably maneuver a little bit with my hand. Do you see how I went over to the edge, in, around, and over? Now what happens if this is not wide enough in here and I just stop right here and it doesn't go into the hole? What should I do? What do you think?
Probably file more.
Okay, you said pick up, go over it. So here's what I'm going to tell you to do. You just go over here. If it stops, go right across, over and out. And then what we'll do is we'll stop the machine, we'll put it in the hole separately like this. Not touching anything, turn it on, and go in the circle. Yours happens to fit right in. So I'm going to show you that once more. It's okay to go over it again because I already took it off. And if there was anything else maybe sticking in there still, I'd be able to get it this time. Okay, move that. Now, if I was to stop with the router touching the wood, did you see how I moved it out to the outside a little bit? If I was to stop with it touching the wood, what it can do sometimes is leave burn marks. Now, this happens to be a brand new bit, and some of the kids that did it yesterday, the bit was starting to leave some burn, so I said, you know what, I better go ahead and grab a new bit and put it in. I'm glad I did. It really makes it look pretty good. So, go ahead and feel this right here, Bryson. How's that feel to you? Does that feel pretty smooth?
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of sand and be able to finish it. So listen, Bryson, what I'm actually going to have you do is I'm going to have you go over this side here again without it on to get the feel for it. So scoot right up to the table right there. And are you right or left-handed?
Left-handed.
You're left-handed, okay. So it's a little bit tricky for me, so you're going to want to hold it with your left hand. And you're just going to go counterclockwise with it. So hold that with your right hand. Yep. Now see how it's cockeyed out a little bit? There you go. Yep. Remember, we gently go over it. We're not forcing that. You can go. If I was you, I would start right here, and I would work your way down that way. So, all right. Yeah, just like that. See how it floats right along and it's not wobbling on you? That's good. So at this point here, you might want to move it like that, and then you can transfer in. You ended right here. We're going to pretend as if it's nice and easy. Watch when we go around that outside edge. Watch this, guys. We go around that outside edge. We go a little slow and in and around. What's that ball bearing doing? it's following this edge. All right, so remember that whatever that ball bearing touches, it's going to route in. So if it's not touching anything, is it routing anything in? It needs to follow that edge, doesn't it? All right, so we're gonna let you try this side here. Let's go ahead and put it right in the center of that hole into no man's land. Not touching anything, all right? So remember that you're gonna wanna hold this over here though with your right hand. He probably really doesn't need to hold it because we have this nice rubber mat, but it's always a good practice to have a hand on just in case. All right, so we're in no man's land. You want me to turn it on for you? And which way do we go for the circle?
I'll go right.
Yeah, we go clockwise for that one. Everything else is counterclockwise, right? Okay. It's always a good habit to get into turning it off, all right, because is there any guard protecting that bit down there? So if I was to reach across and maybe grab something from you, could I stick my hand right in that? That's why we always let it come to a complete stop before we pick it up. Yes, this year there's not a lot of kids in here, but normally this place is a madhouse, people running everywhere, working, you know what I mean? A lot of stuff going on. All right, so you're left-handed, so let's go ahead and hold that with your right hand. And we're gonna start right about over here. I'll turn it on. Remember, we always start it like that. Okay, and we're not touching the wood, right? All right. It's easy. Okay. Good. Move it a little bit. All right. All right, let's take a look at it. Feel all the way around. Make sure it feels pretty uniform. It does. So that looked like it was halfway easy for you. Did you find it tricky at all, or not too much?
No, not really.
A couple little spots in this area gets a little bit tricky. from
Yeah, I
time
think
to
that's the
time.
hardest part, like going around.
Because you're trying to keep going this way and you have to go, all right, around in that circle. So for your first time using the router, that wasn't too bad, to be honest with you. And like anything, with time it does get much easier to do. Now that you have this all the way routed out, you're just going to grab a nice piece of 120 grit right here, and you're just going to go ahead and sand these edges over so that they're nice and smooth, just like that. In here, same thing. When you go to doing here, I like to just take my thumb and I go like this. And remember, we don't want to file these flat. We want to have a little bit of a contour. So you see how the paper goes over that edge a little bit like that? And we're going to go all the way around. We're going to do everything. So you're going to sand this up all the way to 120. Once it feels good, looks good, we're going to go for you 150 because it's oak, and then you're going to be putting some oil on it. So you're in great shape. That's all there is to it. Looks mighty fine. I think the rest of us are going to get it done. Nice job.